them inside the classroom. And then I'm going to talk about the idea of role-playing forums and how those can also be used within a classroom, and they're very much not hardly known at all. So I hope that's kind of going to be an idea that anyone going into teaching can use. And then I'm going to offer out my concluding remarks and life-changing advice that I can give. Okay. So I don't really think that I have to tell many of you that the reading and writing scores in America have been dropping a lot. Recently, nations such as South Korea and Finland and China are like doing super awesome, and we're just getting not as awesome. What I've been researching is the alternative ways in which we can teach and present English in the language arts, particularly using literature in the classroom. I want to make a case that reading and writing can become stronger subjects for students if educators were to present the English and the language arts in a more learner-centered fashion versus teacher-centered fashion. And the difference between the two is that a learner-centered classroom is focused on the students actually doing work, and they learn from that work that they do versus the teacher just lecturing and not giving them a chance to experiment. So, for the purpose of this paper, I define alternative literature as literature that steps away. Oh wait. I define alternative literature as literature that is more than a classic book, and literacy that is not necessarily taught using books. It also includes the possibilities of what literature can potentially be. This idea can also be called multiple genres and multiple literacies. And well-known examples of that I would give would be something such as Dungeons and Dragons and manga and anime or even movies. And I'm going to be focusing, as I said, on graphic novels and the use of online forums for these kind of things. So in her text, Expanding Literacies Through Graphic Novels, Gretchen Schwartz argues that students must acquire the analytical tool necessary for critically reading all kinds of media text. Comics are an alternative, appealing way for students to analyze literary conventions, character development, dialogue, language, and it's also a really helpful way to develop writing and researching skills. So, how many here have actually read graphic novels such as like Incognito or, yeah. So, how many of these were actually read for a class in high school? Yeah. Yet these things are fantastic at teaching literary conventions and character development and showing dialogue, actually showing dialogue and language structure, and it develops your research skills. So I have these two examples. From this one on the left is from Incognito, and then this one on the right is from Maus, which is a Pulitzer Prize winning graphic novel about the Holocaust. As you can see, the one on the left requires a certain kind of literacy to be able to see this party-like structure that is taking place around this lynching and the kind of lesson that you can learn from that. And then the one for Maus, there's this kind of path that they're on that is in the shape of the swastika that shows how there was no direction for the Jewish people at the time. So these are all the Common Core standards that are met with graphic novels. And I put down at the bottom there's a score of 6 out of 8 for reading literature that all of these graphic novels can fulfill, as though people don't think that these are credible or something. These are really easy to read through, and they can teach students the skills that they need for analytical reading very easily. They can even act as like a gateway material to get students interested in other literature. And I mean, imagine what this kind of genre could be like if it was applied to something dry that every high school student had to read, like Romeo and Juliet. If they were asked to interact with that kind of a text by interpreting the language and stage directions in order to create their own graphic novel or a visual representation of it, the students would have to view it as a reader as well as an author and give their own interpretation to it. These are the narrative Common Core standards that are fulfilled with that 6 out of 6 of them. All of them are met. If students are able to interact with the text in that kind of way, they could use any kind of technology for this, like Photoshop or the kind of, I can't even know what to call it right now, but the technology that comic artists use. So using an online role-playing forum offers a similar experience. These platforms are usually created on a discussion forum, and they can be modified to include whatever kind of world that the creator wants. The members join it, and they create their own character, and they interact with other members or characters by writing and responding to posts. I've never been really good at explaining this kind of a thing because it's just so strange and people don't really have experience with it. So the best thing for me to do was to bring visuals of my own experience. So the following images that I have are screenshots from a fan-created RP online forum that I have been a member of for like 7 years now. Exactly on Tuesday was my 7th anniversary. So this is a example from my own like Charms and Spells classroom that I actually teach to the members on the site. So you can see the progression of I make a post, and this is creating the story of lesson number 1. So I create a post in which I explain what's happening, and then people respond to it. And these are actual people somewhere in the world making their own post within the site. So they have to, when they create their own character, they have to create their own voice and their own style of character and remain in character while doing all of this stuff. The next image is a different section of the site, which is called Role Playing Central, and it contains the different rules about the site and whatnot. But